Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 13, season 5 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live on Wednesdays on Facebook and YouTube throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Magic Round's officially over, and I actually thought it was pretty great despite all the injuries that had ruled a lot of the big names out. Perhaps pretty biased due to a fantastic Warriors upset win. But how are you, and what did you think of the round?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, Brad. I thought the round was I thought it was good. There was a lot of really tight contests, particularly early on in the week, and a lot of exciting clashes, and obviously the icing on the cake, the Warriors game, probably caught most of us by surprise in the best way possible. How are you?
Yeah, great. And I thought it was a fantastic round. Yeah, all but one game were like neck and neck, real tight, exciting contests. So, thought it was fantastic. Was really concerned, as we've been talking weeks about all these big names being ruled out, and was kind of worried it would be a bit of a dud. But no worries there. It was fantastic. So I'm really looking forward into talking about it all. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m., you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week. We'll then review all those Magic Round matches. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we've prepared for each other. We'll then preview round 12 and discuss who we're picking before ending a night with a recap of the Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into the top stories of the week, Richie.
Yep, let's do it.
First one, big breaking news. The Parramatta Eels have sacked Brad Arthur effective immediately, with Trent Barrett taking over as interim coach. It's come out that the Eels had made this decision to let him go on the 1st of May and had spent the past few weeks chasing Wayne Bennett behind closed doors, which was unsuccessful. Probably not the way I would have gone about it. And then waiting until now, which was the day before his 50th birthday, to tell him he doesn't have a job anymore. There's been talk, before I give it to you, there's been talk of guys like Jason Riles, Josh Hannay and the like, potentially being ones that they could look to do like a Seraldo or Webby and bring a young guy up and hopefully he can get on board. James Graham has come out and said that they should try to poach Andrew Webster or even like a Todd Payton. What's your thoughts first on the news and then who you think should be stepping in?
I feel for Brad Arthur. Obviously, pretty poor timing with his birthday about just before his birthday. And just thinking about where Parramatta were before he took over. They were down in the dumps, and he took them from that spot to a team that was making finals most years. Last year was a bit of a backward step, and this year they're kind of trending that way as well. But he's been a bit unlucky, I think, especially with Mitch Moses being gone for most of the season. Parramatta very reliant on him, and then Clint Gutherson as well on top of that. They haven't had the easiest time with injuries, but I'm just not sure. They may have to go with a rookie first-grade coach, a Riles, if they can get him, because I don't really see any other obvious big options, if you know what I mean. They might have to try and create something with a rookie coach, kind of like what we did and what the Bulldogs are doing now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think they've got to go rookie. If you're replacing Arthur with an experienced coach, they have to be better than what Arthur was providing, and I don't see anyone available. It all seems weird. We talked ages ago about the Wayne Bennett scenario that there were rumors he was waiting to see if the Eels job was open, and he apparently got told, no, we're not getting rid of Arthur, which made him go, okay, I'm going to be a Rabbitohs coach again. And then now they want him. And there was a lot of talk on 360 and the past few days that he hasn't officially been announced as the Rabbitohs coach yet, so there could be time. He has, spoiler for a little bit later, he has officially signed with the Rabbits now, so he's completely off the table. But yeah, there's no experienced player guys out there to replace Arthur, so you got to give it to a rookie. Jason Riles always pops into my head because he's always that rookie that's always talked about whenever there's a job opening.
Yeah, he's got big reps on him, eh?
Yeah, time will tell. I feel sorry for Arthur. I feel, yeah. Could their season so far have been better if he had Moses and Gutho out there every week? Potentially, could be a different story. But them's the breaks, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to see. I expect he'll pick up a job pretty quick. He's quite renowned in the coaching circles as like a player's coach. That all the players like him. Apparently, there's a new story that like almost 100 former players, current players, and whatnot have reached out to him since to see how he is. So he's obviously got a lot of people that respect him. So yeah, I feel we've potentially got a few new teams coming into the market too.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm sure his story isn't just done yet. And Simon said he doesn't think it's a good idea to become the coach of Parramatta. They have a fanatical fan base. They have too much say on how the clubs run. Yeah, it's a tough job. There's a lot of expectations, which is kind of funny when you think how long's it been since they won their last premiership. Don't want to throw stones as a fan of a club who's never won one, but
not since the 80s.
Yeah, so it's they got that grand final or a few. So they've had some highs, but yeah, maybe a change is a good thing. But adding on to that, you want to say anything about Mr. Graham and his let's poach Webby ideas?
I don't take a lot out of it. To be fair, I think it's just an idea he's thrown out there, and why not? Webby's the Dalian coach of the year from last year, and he makes all the right noises, so doesn't surprise me. But I also don't think anything will make Webby leave. I think he's happy where he is, and I think he's doing a good job. Even if his team selections don't always appease you, Brad.
Yeah. When I finally get that dinner date with Webby at some point, I'll get him to explain it to me so I can get to his understanding. Yeah. But I understand throwing that idea out there. It'll never happen. Cameron George has already come out and said no. He's spoken with Webby, and they're both very happy with him being the Warriors coach, and so I don't think we have to worry about that anytime soon as Warriors fans. But we'll move on. It was kind of breaking news just a few hours ago. The Tigers have granted Isaiah Papali'i permission to leave the club at the end of the season. I had quickly thrown it in my notes, and then I got a message from you about it as well. Where do you think he'll end up? I know a lot of Warriors fans are umming and ahhing on if he's going to come back. You asked me, would I be happy to see him back? I said I'm happy with who the Warriors have right now, but for the right price, I wouldn't say no. But what about you?
Where he'll end up, I'm not sure. There's a lot of clubs that would be decent suitors to his services. Would I like him back here? I mean, yeah. I was always a fan of his potential when he was with us. He didn't, he produced it sort of on and off, and then he went to Parramatta and produced it every week, became Dalian second row of the year. When he was with us, he didn't have an Andrew Webster working with him, that's for sure. So part of me is intrigued about what that would look like and whether Webby could extract that Parramatta form out of him, but I wouldn't say no. Again, for the right price.
Yeah, I like touching wood. Say we get to the end of this year and a guy like Mitch Barnett says, I'm homesick, I don't want to live in New Zealand anymore, does the Australian Warrior special and asks to go. If there's a guy like Papali'i that can kind of fill that void that is handy. But I think, judging by how Barnett's been playing, I don't expect that. I'm just picking the Australian in the forward pack. There's Capewell as well, I guess, but Capewell's kind of, I think once this contract's done, he'll probably retire. So I don't really see him going to another club. But stranger things have happened. We've also got guys like Jazz Tafanga who currently don't have a contract. So if they decide not, they might go, we're not going to re-sign Jazz, we'll bring Ice back to take that spot. I don't know. We don't even know if he wants to come back to New Zealand. He might just want to get out of the Tigers.
True. I see Ice as someone that would be quite versatile too. I think you could definitely get edge back row or middle out of him. Prop or 13. I think he'd play anywhere in the forward pack other than hooker.
It's just another player to get in the way of me seeing Zion every week. So, but yeah, I'm sure this is going to become a developing story in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Simon said normally it's a wise move to leave the Tigers. It normally is. I think the Tigers. I think the Tigers are going to improve next year. I'm not in the players' shoes. I'd feel like it could be the potential of a great starting point next year when Jerome Luai comes in, who, despite losing the weekend, I thought looked better than I expected at 7. So he showed potentially he could do some magic with the Tigers. And the last thing you want to do is be the guy that gets out of the Tigers just as they're about to actually start being competitive again. But
they're a couple of pieces of the puzzle away from being a good team, eh?
Yeah.
And a couple of those puzzle pieces arriving next year, so
yeah. So but yeah, we'll obviously keep our ears to the ground, and once we get more information on what's happening, what the situation is, we'll discuss it more. So we'll move on. I completely forgot it was happening last week, which is a faux pas on my point, but we had the first Women's Origin game on Thursday night. And unfortunately, New South Wales defeated Queensland 22-12. Since I forgot, I didn't see the start, but I got in there once I realized it was on. The old Millie alert on my phone jumped up saying she was out playing. So did you watch the game at all?
I watched highlights. I didn't actually watch the whole game, to be fair, so slack on my behalf as well.
We're a professional outfit here.
The highlights looked good.
It looked like a very good game.
Yeah, the quality looked better this year than it was last year, and I think maybe I hear they had a lot more time in camp this year, because it is a weird thing, like playing it at the start of before their season's kicked off. But I hear there's a bit more preparation this year, and the quality looked a bit better.
Yeah, and they've upgraded it to a 3-game series as well, which is good. Although if New South Wales play like they did this time, it might not matter. But yeah, very good game. Millie played well again as always. So yeah, very, very happy. Only time I support New South Wales. So yeah, it was fantastic. So we'll move on. NRL has officially announced that Magic Round will remain in Brisbane until at least the 2027 season. I'm happy with that, to be honest. I think Brisbane's clearly showing they know how to put on a show, and the numbers aren't decreasing. It's getting better and better in terms of viewership on television and in person. So yeah, I'm happy to see them still doing it there. I listened to one of the poddies today, mate, and Phil Gould was on it, and he was quite upset that they haven't sent a Magic Round to Sydney, which I don't agree with. I feel like Sydney gets the big game. They get the grand final, so let Magic Round stay in Queensland. I'd love the idea of it coming to New Zealand at some point, but I don't know if we could put on the type of event that Brisbane's nailing right now, in my honest opinion. And it would no doubt end up at Eden Park, which would piss me off even more. But yeah, what's your take on the idea of Brisbane getting it for longer.
They they just do it really well. If I don't know that I'd want to take it anywhere else either. They're in the state of Queensland, which rugby league is just massive. They've got the setup there with Caxton Street right outside the stadium, and people can come and go and go to bars, go have food. It's just got that carnival atmosphere that they've nailed down to a T. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
see anywhere else being quite as good.
Yeah, I was going to jump in with Simon's point that Sydney nearly has Magic Round every weekend, as most of the teams are there anyway, with 9 teams there. So yeah, Sydney definitely doesn't need it. I guess the only other place I would think about doing it is put it somewhere where you're going to be launching a new franchise, maybe so for the 2 or 3 years before they launch. So say you're going to have that Perth team in 2030, put the Magic Round there for sort of 27, 28, 29 to help build up that audience. Local audiences as well might be one. That would just be my thought. Something how you could use it in a different way.
Yeah, the Perth idea would be good. Papua New Guinea's a no-go, mate. We're not going to Port Moresby with Magic Round.
There'd be some magic there.
Oh man, that one would be bad. But the Perth one's not a bad shout. Before, like, once you've announced that team, a year or two before, having it there and getting people back. But yeah, we'll stay away from Papua New Guinea. I already mentioned it, but Wayne Bennett's officially been announced as the Rabbitohs coach. Signed a 3-year deal to coach from next year, and he has come out and said that he's not looking to poach Dolphin players. We'll see what happens there, because Bennett does have a bit of a history of players following him wherever they go. Mainly just one. But I don't know if we're going to see Darius Boyd come out of retirement. But I think Jeremy Marshall-King could potentially be one that follows him, maybe. Bennett kind of gave him a big opportunity when he moved into the Dolphins. He's playing very well, and he potentially could go, or he might want to stay with, the club that's kind of backed him as their number 19. So that's just me speculating. But what do you reckon about Bennett? We've kind of discussed it every week because it's basically been confirmed forever.
Yeah, we have. It's been a pretty badly kept secret, but says a lot about his coaching credentials, where he has players that want to follow him and want to play for him. I've seen reactions to it on the socials with Rabbits fans, kind of a bit. Mostly positive. Couple of people feel like it's a step backwards, or I guess from where they're at now, I would say it's a positive thing. The last time they were good was under Wayne.
Yeah, I think it's not a step backwards. It might be a step to the side, but again, it goes back to that Eels talk. There's not really anyone else. Yeah. If you wanted a new coach, Bennett was really the only one on the market that could potentially just jump straight in and help your team perform at the level they need to be. Time will tell. We'll continue with the Rabbitohs for a little bit. I wasn't going to put it in, but I thought may as well, just for giggles. Latrell Mitchell had a run-in with Braithen Astor at a restaurant and confronted him over comments he's made regarding him and his teammates, even asking him to step outside to finish the conversation. There have been murmurs that Mitchell approached him due to comments he made on 360 that were privy to him and not meant to be said publicly. And that's apparently something that may have rubbed him up the wrong way. I'm extremely biased here. I'm not a fan of either individual. And the idea of someone squaring up against Braithen Astor a few weeks after someone squared up with Paul Kent is funny to me. But what's your take on it? I know you're a big Astor fan from your New South Wales days.
No, not really. I actually remember David Farlongo giving him a nice wee surprise slap, which I always find enjoyable whenever that resurfaces. It's just a funny situation. That's an Astor's job, is to talk about footy, and Souths aren't going well. So they're not going to be painted in a great light on shows like NRL 360. Latrell Mitchell's just got to be the bigger man and not not get all hurt by those kind of things. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not privy to what info he was upset with. Whether there was something that was between them. I don't know. So I won't speculate. But
Yeah.
Be adults, guys. Be adults.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right look for Latrell, especially with all eyes on him at the moment for admittedly not really performing at the level he should. He should probably focus on his own performance rather than what people are saying. But yeah, I don't like Anesta, so it is extremely biased. I don't feel comfortable with him leading a show on 360 when he's also a player agent.
Yeah,
I feel like that murks the water. Like I think I was discussing it with you and Ruin Hammer about when the Freddie Lussick charged down a few weeks ago, and Nesta ripped right into that like Lussick had murdered someone because the player that got hurt was one of the players he manages.
Yeah.
Which makes it a bit biased, but I'm biased on here, so I can't throw stones. So yeah. I don't know.
No,
But
I mean, there's we're not professional pundits, etc., and so it's a bit different. But I mean,
look for yourself, Paul.
I think look, if Latrell Mitchell's giving the guy inside information and having a private chat, he's got his phone number, right? So call him up and say, mate, that wasn't for public consumption. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't go and have a chat with him. You don't go ask him to step outside a restaurant. That's just dumb. That's real dumb.
Latrell in a nutshell.
Yeah. And Simon said he didn't know he was a player agent. That sounds like a serious conflict of interest. Yeah, he is the agent for Cameron Munster and Lachlan Ilias. I think he might have one or two others, but those are the main two big ones. Cameron Munster's his big one, which is why it was always weird. I think it was last year with all the Cameron Munster talk on, is he going to the Dolphins? Is he going here? Because that was like the top topic on 360. And it's like, if anyone knows, it's the guy that hosts the show and they're speculating all this stuff. And that's part of the gig on getting his price up, right? You're out on live television telling people Dolphins are offering him $20 million and half of Queensland to go. Melbourne, what have you got? So, yeah, it is. That's another topic. So we'll move on before Anasta tries to meet me in a restaurant. So next bit of news, Oz government, we've talked about it ages ago. They have actually been rumored now to they're set to pledge money into upgrading Leichhardt Oval. So we talked about a few weeks ago that Leichhardt Oval was basically dead in the water because the government didn't want to give money. They apparently have changed their tune. There was some noise that apparently the Tigers have said they're not interested in playing there anymore. That would be a bad idea when you see what it's like when they're there. So hopefully cooler heads prevail and Leichhardt does get upgraded and the Tigers, show their love and go there a little bit more. What do you reckon, Richie?
Yeah, 100%. These boutique suburban grounds, they're just part of the rugby league fabric. So I think it'd be cool to get some money put into it and get it upgraded and, keep its legacy running. Yeah, I didn't hear those rumours of the Tigers not wanting to play there, like you just said, Brad. So yeah, like you say, hopefully that's not true because it's always something special when the Tigers play.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure that'll be something we can talk about at more length once we have more details. So we will move on. Angus Crichton, the circus continues with him. The Panthers have now joined the Roosters and Rabbits in the pursuit of his signature. Still don't really know what's going to happen. All rumors are kind of leading to him feeling a bit insulted by the Roosters and what they did with David Fafita and whatnot. The Rabbits have that Wayne Bennett dangle, which could entice him, and then the Panthers are the Panthers. So it's not a bad day at the office when you're a professional league player and you have the Roosters, Panthers, and Rabbits interested in bringing you on. So I don't know where he's going to go. If I'm sitting on the fence here, but if you were him, who would you go with?
It's good options to have. There's the there's the route of wanting to be a winner, in which case Panthers or even Roosters, the way they're going, if he wants to stay, or Panthers. And then there's the other way, which is whoever throws the most money at you. So
Yeah.
I don't know where his priorities lie, but Panthers never seems like a bad option. They don't often buy out, so they're more of a development club. So they've lost a ton of players, and they'll have some money. The Roosters always have some money. Yeah,
So
depends how happy he is at the Roosters and whether or not he is a bit disgruntled with them, because it would be an easy option to take some money and stay there. But yeah.
So I guess the question is, if he signs with the Panthers, is Ivan going to send money the Rabbitohs' way for developing him?
No, that only works one way, Brad.
Only works one way? Okay. I was just checking. I want to make sure everything's still on the straight and narrow. Two more bits before we get into signings, injuries, and the like. So Graham Ellerslie, he has addressed the comments from Des Hasler, who was very vocal in the weekend, regarding Brian Kelly's possible match-winning try, saying that it was the correct call and it wasn't a try. And then he threw a little bit a stink on it, because he said any level of emotion would not change his mind. Because obviously Des was very emotional in the situation of the game. Did you think it was a try?
It was sent upstairs as a try, on-field decision, in which case you need compelling evidence to overturn it. I honestly thought he bobbled it, and I'm happy with it being no try, but it wasn't a huge bobble. I think if it got given a try with insufficient evidence to overturn on field, you could make an argument for that as well. But I was happy enough for no try, because I with my eyes, I could see a bit of a bobble in there. And then I always think, how would I feel if that was against the Warriors?
If it was the Warriors scoring that try, it's a dead set try. If it was the Warriors defending that try, it wasn't a try.
Yeah, true.
I'm happy with it not being a try, because it kept my multi alive. So I was biased. I can see arguments both ways, but I'm happy with the call. I'm not sitting here thinking the Titans, were screwed out of that game. I think
they screwed themselves out of that game with their second half.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last bit of news, it's just a rumor. There was some articles coming out this week saying that Sean Johnson has decided he's going to go on in 2025. Nothing official yet from the Warriors, which means, knowing our luck, they're going to announce it either in 2 hours' time or tomorrow, because that's what happens with the standoff. I'm not surprised. We basically were of the assumption with James Fisher-Harris coming in, he was going to give it one more year, especially with the Warriors not really traveling the way a lot of us expected. I feel like last week aside, if the trajectory they looked like they were going was going to go, that's not the way he'd want to go out. But yeah, what's your take? It's not a surprise to me. I expected this announcement to come at some point, even though it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I've had that expectation that he would go around another year, add a year to his playing career. I'm happy for it if that's what happens. I think he's still got enough to offer, and I thought he started the year decent, and then he's been carrying a bit of injury, so it's been a bit tough. I feel like not just him, a couple of them might have got a bit of a rocket this week, seeing how the team can perform with them not there. So it's kind of a good thing seeing this the result on the weekend with a lot of our stars out. It's nothing brings out the best in a team like competition. So yeah, I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it. I think he's still got a lot to offer.
Yeah, so definitely, no doubt that will be a topic we talk about next week after they announce it tomorrow. So we'll move on to signings. Only 4. So the Dolphins have extended Mark Nichols for 2025. The Dragons have extended Jaden Sewer until the end of 2026. Manly have signed Aaron Shoup on a 2-year deal effective immediately after the Titans released him this week. And then announced, I believe today, the Bulldogs have signed Tom Amoni. How do I say his name, mate? You don't know? Amoni?
Yep.
Amoni? Yeah, Amoni will go from Lee on a 2-year deal. So nothing amazing in terms of signings, like game breaking, but all Nichols has been good, so I'm happy to see him. Jaden Sewer's been playing well.
He's been very
Aaron
good.
Shoup,
Yep.
Aaron Shoup for Manly, I think is just a good,
Solid.
solid fill-in if someone goes down, which happens at Manly.
Yeah.
And then the Bulldogs need middles, so they had to get someone.
While his name's been raised, did you see the Mark Nichols post-match interview from the weekend?
Yes, when they named and shamed his dental work.
How funny was that? I had no idea because you always see him with a mouth guard, but yeah, he's proper missing front teeth.
Yeah, there's a few of them running around in the NRL, mate.
Yeah.
Teeth don't last in the hard hitting comp. So we'll move on to injuries. A fair swag. I've only grabbed the ones that I think affect the teams. So I'll rattle them all off and then just let you discuss all of them. Big one is Cameron Munster, groin injury and an abductor tendon tear, 8 to 10 weeks out. Jerome Hughes is a calf. They said he'd be back in round 14, but I think they named him this week, didn't they?
Initially, I think so, yeah, but...
So he might actually be a chance to play this week, despite the injury. I can't even see it. They're playing Manly, so he could rest it. He is back in at 7, so we'll see if that stays. But he still has a calf injury. Wade Egan from the Warriors failed his HIA, so he's going to miss this week due to 11-day stand down. Ali Leotawa from the Warriors is also out for a lengthy spell. Stacey Jones has confirmed he has injured the ligaments around his ankle early on in the game against the Panthers and fought through the pain to finish. But yeah, could be out for some time, unfortunately. Seems to be his curse. Whenever he gets a chance in first grade, he gets hurt. So hopefully he comes back fitter and stronger. Connor Watson from the Roosters is out with a throat injury for a month. Jamin Jolliffe from the Titans is out for 12 weeks with a torn pec. Bradman Best is out for about a month with another hamstring, adding to the hamstring gang. Matt Lodge from Seagulls ruptured his biceps, out for 12 weeks. And Katoni Staggs fractured his rib. No official word on how long he's going to be out. So threw a lot of data at you, mate. Go for it.
I'm just going to pick a couple, eh? How about that?
Go on.
Yeah, Munster one looked pretty painful the way he was sort of writhing around on the ground. That's nasty, and I think it was the groin that he did when slipping in the shower, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So a bit of a aggravation there. I'd be careful if I was Jerome.
Do you only have one groin? I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, but that was the same injury, right?
Yeah.
Groin injury. Jerome Hughes, I'd be careful. Like, why not rest if you can? Those calves can be niggly. Wade Egan, 11-day stand down, so it is what it is. I got enough evidence on the weekend that we can plug it. Although it's Lussick coming in, and I would have been keen to see Roach get another go.
We can save that for later, mate.
I know.
For the Brad selection run. Yeah,
Didn't you want to go to 10:30 tonight?
Potentially.
Yeah, there's just a lot, isn't there? We were talking about it last week as well. Bradman Best, calf strain. There's a lot with origin implications as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, but yeah, hopefully we stop having so many. It feels like it's one of the biggest segments every week at the moment.
Ali Leotawa too. Like, Jacko's just brought it up. I feel like that happened to him last year as well. Made his debut and then injured, and then that was it.
Mm.
So it's I hope he gets on top of his injuries because he's just such a talent. You want to see him have a bit of a run if he gets the chance.
Yeah, I guess putting a positive spin on it, both injuries, the one against the Raiders and the one against the Panthers, they weren't like Tommy Turbo injuries where it's like a hammy or a dodgy part. It's two different injuries in like contact. So it's not like he's got a dodgy body that's, if he goes too fast, he breaks it like a Tommy Turbo. So on a positive spin like that, it doesn't look like it's a recurring thing, hopefully. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him get more time in first grade because I'm a big fan of what he can do. So we'll move on to Naughty Boys. We've got 3, technically 4. So Josh Papali'i from the Raiders, grade 2 dangerous contact. He's got a match ban. Brent Naden got a grade 2 dangerous contact, 1 match ban. And then Justin Olam, grade 2 dangerous contact, 1 match ban. You happy with those calls? I think one match is fine.
Yeah, fine. I'm surprised it's not a more substantial list, given that the referees were sin bin happy over Magic Round.
Yeah, well, the Warriors, they had some not identical to this, but they had 3 reports that didn't even get a fine. So the rest were a bit overzealous, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah,
there was a lot of fines added to all of this as well. But yeah, those were the big ones. And then lastly, Taylor May. He is set, it isn't official yet, but he's set to be stood down indefinitely over current domestic violence charges that have led to him being arrested and charged. The NRL, I almost said the Warriors. The Warriors have no say in what happens, but the NRL, they have the no fault policy, which you don't play until your name is cleared or you're punished. They, for some reason, haven't jumped in as quickly as they normally do. Not sure why. I know Taylor May seems to have different rules. We remember when he got suspended, but they delayed his suspension so he could play finals.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, serious charges that have been against him. We'll see what happens, if they get proven correct. If he's innocent, we don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. But yeah, you want to have any thoughts before we move on?
No. Other than that, they are pretty serious charges, and if he gets found guilty, then yeah, what a grub, deserves what he's got coming.
What he gets.
But we'll wait till he's actually proven guilty, I suppose.
Yeah. So we'll move on to Magic Round, mate. Starting on the Friday night with Raiders defeating the Bulldogs 24-20.
Yeah, this one's going to start a whole run of close matchups. So this was 4 tries apiece here for Simon's Raiders. Xavier Savage, Sebastian Chris, Hudson Young with 2. For the Doggies, Jacob Preston, Stephen Crichton, Matt Burton, Jacob Carraz. Jordan Rapana perfect off the boot. Matt Burton 2 from 4. Goal kicking the difference.
Yeah, I thought the Raiders started strong, but some poor discipline with those 2 sin bins let the Bulldogs get into the match and steal the lead at halftime. But this is the kind of gritty game that the Raiders excel in, and they just grinded the Bulldogs away. Wasn't pretty, but I thought it was a solid, heart-forward win. Your take on the Doggies? The Raiders, sorry.
The Raiders, yeah, another good effort from the Green Machine. There could be plenty of excuses they could make, with their injuries and a really young, inexperienced halves pairing. But in a tight back-and-forth contest, I thought they really stood up, and I thought the combination of Strange and Hudson Young in particular proved a match winner.
Yeah, and your take on the Doggies?
It's just a game that got away from the Dogs. Probably too many errors didn't help their cause. They're clearly a much improved side this year, but if they narrowly missed the 8 this year, it'll be a game like this that they'll regret dropping when, it could have been a result that went their way.
Yeah, definitely. I thought they started slow, and they did take the opportunity to pile on points when they had that one and then two-man advantage. But when the Raiders started to come back, I think they just overplayed their hand a bit, which led to more errors and a close loss that, like you said, it could come back to bite them towards the end of the year. Your player to stand out?
Huddy Young. He's had one of those Hudson Young games.
Yeah, and Paul has confirmed he led the fantasy points, which is also why I picked him. Yeah, thought he was fantastic. Got the double, was a menace all night on both sides of the ball, and has just really started to develop. He was always a talented player that just was a little bit too disciplined for his own good, and he's curbing that back. He's finding the line. He was on the verge of being another Radley, where you'd get to the point where if you sneezed, you got sent to the bin. So it's good to see him kind of finding that balance. So, yeah, very impressed with what he delivered. We'll move on to the next game on Friday, another close one. The Broncos defeating the Sea Eagles 13-12.
Again, same amount of tries for each team. 2 for Manly, 2 for Broncos. For the Sea Eagles, Ruben Garrick and Raymond Tuimalo Vaenga. For the Broncos, Brendan Piakura and Dean Mariner. Field goal difference.
Field goal of difference. So Broncos shot out of the gates in the first 20 minutes before the game settled into another grind like we had just watched. Looked a bit aimless on attack at times without Reynolds and Walsh. But when push came to shove, they knew what they needed to do to win despite trailing in most stats, which essentially is just basic solid defense and then that clutch field goal from Jock Madden, which, many more experienced players might have shanked in that type of environment, but he nailed it. So very impressive despite the low scoreline and without some big names. So I think a good effort from them, but your take on the Bronx?
Much the same as you, mate. Really good start from the away team. Not really away team, but the away team.
They had to travel to that other changing room, mate. It's long journey.
True. Scored a couple tries in the opening 11 minutes. From there on out, though, their try scoring dried up. They're probably missing Walsh a bit, who does generate points for them. Although I thought Cobbo was pretty decent in his place. But defensively, the Broncos still really sound and scrambled well, and got the go-ahead field goal through Jock Madden, which was enough to see them home.
Your take on Manly?
Yeah, I thought Manly fought back well in the second half, and I actually thought for a lot of the game they looked the more likely team, if not for a few missed passes here and there. Defensively, this game was a step in the right direction for Manly. They've been a bit shaky in that area, but they were close to causing a big upset here.
Yeah, Manly were the better team stat-wise in pretty much every stat, bar the scoreline. But yeah, they looked sure to score the upset. But as you just said, they were let down by their errors. An improvement on the past few weeks, but still a long way to go. And I think we picked the same guy as our player, but who'd you pick?
Yeah, I didn't know because you didn't write them down this week.
Wait, you copy everything I say, mate. So I wanted to be a bit different and not let you know my thoughts.
Yeah, fair. This will be interesting then. I went Paddy Carrigan. He's just, you could almost pick him every week. He's that consistent.
Yeah, I think he led for the Broncos on only 59 points, which is quite low. But Ruben Garrick led the whole game on 77. But I think he led the Broncos in running meters. I think he had like 265. And yeah, he always goes in there. He had to step up in the absence of some of those bigger names. He can't really have that same attacking impact like they do, but he makes up in the other ways. So yeah, very impressed. So we'll move on to the first game on Saturday. The Knights keeping our slim hopes of our multi alive on the second day, defeating the Titans 28-24.
And again, for the third game straight, both teams same amount of tries.
Yeah.
For the Titans, Cleese Haas, Lofi Khan Pereira had 2, Jojo Fafita and Keanu Kini were the try scorers. For the Knights, young David Armstrong had a hat-trick. Brodie Jones and Jacob Saifidi.
Yeah, fantastic game to watch here. Had me on the edge of the seat also because we had that multi-riding and Paul's already given us enough written warnings about wasting his money. So I was really hoping to get it for him. But it looked like the Knights were in trouble at halftime. Down, I think they were 24-10, weren't they? Down at halftime, but they dominated that second half with the ultimate difference in this game being Hastings' goal kicking. They will want to work on their discipline, as I think stronger teams would not leave the door open for them like the Titans did. But I'm going to keep the stat going since it keeps they keep winning, but they're now 4-0 without Ponga. So just rip up that contract. Leave this Armstrong kid out there, mate. They go buy 3 other players to replace Ponga. But your take on the Knights?
Yeah, speaking of that discipline, Hastings, I don't know what had him seeing red, but he looked like he was wanting to fight every man in his dog out there.
Yeah.
That was a tough win for the Knights. Like you say, now 4 in a row without Ponga. No Ponga, no worries. Ponga's fill-in's proving to be a revelation. He plays a different style to Ponga, but he seems very effective, very fast, great support play game, picked up 3 great tries. So they're traveling well. They're winning. They're winning close, but they're winning. And interesting to see what happens when Ponga comes back.
Yeah, your take on the Titans?
Again, they prove that they've come a long way from where they were at the start of the year. They'll be really upset with their second half because they were looking really good in that first half, but their second half was a bit of a stinker. They're blowing a 24-10 halftime lead. So Des can be as upset as he wants with a late try being rubbed out, but they really have themselves to blame for letting that game slip.
Yeah, definitely. I thought they did look strong in that first half with some exciting attacking plays, but unfortunately that Titans fade that we saw almost every week last year appears to have come back with back-to-back games where they've faded away. And they just struggled to keep up with the Knights, I think. I think a lot of it was down to just the Knights outpaced them so often. They looked to have secured that win through the Brian Kelly try, which wasn't to be. If they improve their goal kicking and their second half efforts, which we have seen at times this year, they could nail a few more wins. Aaron Shute just signed with Manly because the Titans let him go. Do you think his sin bin and his poor goal kicking was the reason they told him he could go?
I don't know about that. I mean, the goal kicking wasn't the flashes, but Kelly he took one too probably when Shute was in the bin. Well, when Shute was in the bin. Yeah, but no, I don't know about that, mate. But as a team, they let this one slip though for sure.
Let me speculate, mate. Let me speculate.
Speculate
your player of the day. I think we picked the same guy. Kind of hard not to argue. Paul has said David Armstrong led with 87 points in fantasy.
Yeah, let's go with that then. David Armstrong. Scored a hat-trick, really impressive.
He's just fast. I think Jacko mentioned it, that Armstrong's very good with speed. Yeah, he's quicker than a hiccup, mate. He's gone. So very impressed with what he's done. He hasn't looked out of place in first grade since filling the big shoes that is Ponga. Yeah. So I feel like when Ponga does come back, you've got to keep Armstrong in there somewhere. I don't know if that means he goes onto a wing, but they have pretty good wingers too. Yeah. I don't know. It's a great problem for the Knights to have. So we'll move on to the big game, the game that I got right and you got wrong, mate, because you don't know how to pick. The Sharks defeating the Roosters 38-30.
Yeah, 6 tries for the Sharks. Will Kennedy, Sione Katoa, Teague Wilton, Siosifa Talakai, Ronaldo Mulitalo, and Big Tommy Hazelton. He's the new Fanua Blake, big tries prop. Yeah, he loves the white line. The Roosters, Dom Young with 2, Daniel Tupou, and Ponga with 2. Yeah,
I was going to say the Roosters are fans of the white line as well. But I thought it was another tri-fest here, with both teams leaving some defense at the door. But the Sharks pulled through for me and my tips. They continue to grow in confidence and have shed their flat track bully tag. Which we've been saying the Sharks have been playing well, but we want to see them against good competition, and they've been delivering against good competition now. So I think not a game breaker as such, but I think Talakai has been massive for them coming off the bench.
Yeah,
and Hines has had the cliche ball on a string in this game. Very impressed with this performance. This is the Sharks team I predicted like 2 years ago, mate.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's your take on the Sharks?
They continue to impress me. Until this year, the Sharks built that reputation of being unable to beat the top 8 teams. They seem to have shaken it this year. It was a great effort to knock off one of the informed teams on the back of previously beating Melbourne, and they look the real deal, to be honest. They get another chance this week against the Panthers, and the fact that game's such a hard game to tip probably shows where the Sharks are at the moment. They're no longer that, like you called them, Brad, the flat track bullies.
Yeah, and your take on the Roosters?
Still some really nice attack from the Roosters. Probably could and should have picked up this result if not for a couple of mistakes at the wrong times, and the Sharks capitalising. So really, this should have been a tip that I got right and Brad got wrong. But yeah, I'll stay salty.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You're as salty as Ivan Cleary in the post-match, mate. I thought the Roosters were good here too, to be honest. These are the two top sides right now, in my opinion, at the current, I'd say the past month. And it could have gone either way, as you just said. They lacked a bit of strike with Joey Manu not playing. But if a few things had gone their way, they could have got this result, and it's still a massive threat to go all the way, I think. I think we went once again for the same guy, which is what you do when the Sharks win, you pick Nicho Hines, right?
Yeah, it's the default play. But I thought he was worthy of it. 6 from 6 conversions and a penalty goal as well. He shanked one kick out on the one or two, I can't recall, but he got a 40-20 as well, which they.
I can't believe he got the 40-20. I can't believe Tedesco just let that go.
I know, and that's one of those moments. Like I say, if not for the little moments like that, it could have gone the other way. But I digress. Hines had a really good game. As he's having a really great season.
Yeah, I think he's doing real well. Hard to fault, bar a few mistimed kicks. I think it's hard to fault a lot of what he did. Jacko said if Sharks hold it together, they're real contenders, and that AFB and that pack's going to be devastating. They don't. I can just see what he can do with that team when you think how he kind of pulls that Warriors pack forward when they're a bit down. Yep. You throw him in the mix, going to be dangerous. So
not many people love front football more than Nicho Hines too, and
so
front football
exciting.
Is what AFB does.
Yeah, exciting times for Sharks fans for sure. So we'll move on to the last game on Saturday. Another close one, mate. The Cowboys just holding on enough to defeat the Rabbits 28-22.
Yep, battle of the strugglers. 4 tries to 5 for the Rabbitohs. Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnston, Cody Walker, Damien Cook, all their big name players. For the Cowboys, Viliami Valer, ex-Warrior. Tommy Dearden with 2, Braden Burns with 2.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty from the Cowboys. Very ill-disciplined, but were able to convert a lot of their attacking attempts, which got them the result. I think against many other sides, their performance here would have ended up in a loss, and there's a lot of work needed if they want to return to finals this season. But credit where credit's due. Good, bad, or ugly, a win's a win, as they say.
Yeah, win's a win. That's very appropriate here. Despite the win, not convinced with them still. They got the result, but it visually looked like a game between two struggling teams. And when I glanced down that Cowboys lineup on paper, they're seriously underperforming from where they should be. in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And your thoughts on the Rabbits?
Uh, Probably a little better this week. That's not saying a lot though. Yeah, a couple of encouraging moments from the big name guys, Cody Walker and Latrell, but another loss in a season that already feels rock bottom.
Yeah, and before I give my thoughts, Jacko said rumors are beginning about Peyton being under real pressure if they don't improve, but it could just be gossip BS. I'm not surprised. I think everyone still remembers that top 4 finish, and everyone was all behind him, but it's a slippery slope. When you start not performing, you have a bad year, you might let it slide. If you're not showing any improvement from that bad year, which I would say I don't see a lot of improvement, it's time will talk, but there's just no one to take his spot. So time will tell on that. But yeah, they need to turn it around if they all want jobs. There's a few players that might find themselves out in the wilderness if Peyton's gone too. But I think this was the Rabbits' best match in some time, despite the result. But they're still error-riddled. They had some nice attacking moments, but their hands simply let them down. A change in their halves this week, maybe the spark they need with moving Jack Whiten into the halves, which most people have been screaming at them to do from day dot. So we'll see. I know for a fact we've gone different on our player this time. So who'd you go with?
Yeah, I have no idea. You didn't write it down for me, but I went Dearden because I just feel like we're here to sin bin, but in the last minute. But he's one of the few that he's still playing like a leader, and you know what you're going to get from me. He always gives you a good effort, even though the team's not going too well.
Yeah, I actually went with Braden Burns. He scored a double. But the reason I picked him is because he scored a double against a team that let him go only a few weeks ago. So the Rabbits let him walk out the door, and then he gets to go up against the team that were happy to let him go. They didn't see him as a talent to have, and he got to score a double and beat them, which is probably quite nice for him inside. So I went with that.
It would have felt sweet.
Yeah. So we'll move on. First game on Sunday. Completely biased, but my game of the round. The Warriors defeating the Panthers 22-20.
Clearly biased, but my game of the round as well. 4 tries apiece for the Warriors: Marcelo Montoya, Ali Leotawa, Adam Pompey, and Tain Tuapiki. For the Panthers, Dylan Edwards, Jerome Luai, Isaiah Yeo, and Isaac Tango.
Yeah. So before I start, it's good to see that my faith in the team delivered when I was the happiest we've ever been before a game last week. I was in a dark place, and they helped me out. And Simon said the Warriors ruined my tipping this week. I would add a clean sweep. Likewise, this was the only game I got wrong. This was also the game that ended Paul's multi, as he's about to show us there. We got every game right bar this one. If there's any game to lose a multi on, guys, it's this one. So I'm more than happy. I put money on the Warriors, as I said I would last week. So I'm a bit better. It made up for the money I lost on my multi. But what a game. I was resigned to another loss, mate, when that first kickoff from Tain Tuapiki went over the dead ball line on the full. And then the Panthers scored off the first set. I was like, man, here we go. But the Warriors stayed in the contest, and when Yao was sent to the bin, they got those 2 tries, which changed the contest, I think. Attack wasn't one-dimensional, like we've been complaining about the past few weeks, and the young guns stood up, in particular Tain Tuapiki. His name is Tain, Andrew Voss, who keep calling him Tane.
Not Tane.
And Paulie Roach. I can admit that I felt like I went on a half-an-hour rant about the team naming last week, and Roach wasn't even in it yet. But when I saw Roach there, I was like, we're wasting a spot just in case Egan gets injured. Then lo and behold, Egan got injured and Roach knocked it out of the park. I thought he was fantastic out there. A massive confidence booster, not only for the team, but for the fans and the hosts of this show who were clinging on by a thread trying to talk about this team. And it's hopefully a season turner that the Warriors needed. And it's definitely a win we're going to remember for some time. Jacko said best win since the 2011 prelim. It has to be up there. Everything was against them. It felt at times towards the end that Atkins was against them too. But yeah, your take on the Warriors.
Yeah, it's a great against the odds win here for the boys. I feel like perhaps having so many injuries may have, in a strange way, worked in our favour and made us hard to prepare for. We attack different areas to where we've been heading all year. I was saying to you guys, I feel like that's the most we've gone left all year. We generated second phase, hit lead runners at good times for a couple of tries instead of out the back to the right-hand side over and over. I hope this result fills the boys with confidence going forward. But it's just stoked. So many standout players, like you say, the young guns stepping up. Dylan Walker at 13. Jazz Tavanga just did everything I love about Jazz Tavanga. I thought I was so close to putting him as my player that stood out, but I've gone another way. I'll save that. But yeah, it was just awesome.
Bar his challenge.
Apart from that,
everything else was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jacko said, who would have thought C&K would be so good at 6 and Roach, huge surprise. Yeah, well, it's recorded and live for everyone. I ripped into the fact that we're putting, what did I say? We put a fisherman and a fullback in our halves. And the fisherman played really well. And Chance, he just basically just ran. Whenever he got the ball, he ran, which was a really good opposite to what Tamati was delivering, and it worked really well. So and like you said, the team they named on Tuesday last week, even planning for that would have been difficult, and then all the players that left before that, they wouldn't have prepared for Roach at all. And then having him out there a lot, it would have been very hard for the Panthers to come up with a game plan there. But your take on the Panthers?
I thought it was an out-of-character performance from the Panthers. They probably made a month's worth of errors by their standards. But yeah, and I thought for the most part, the deadly Panthers back five were kept at bay by our rejig team. And that's where they generate a lot of their, starts to their sets and get their rolls on, and then they can get into their robotic system that just seems to work all the time. But yeah, just a bit out of sync and a bit out of character, but hey, we'll take that and maybe give a bit of credit where credit's due. Maybe some of that was caused by what we were doing.
Potentially, and Jacko's made a good point. On TV3 tonight, Webster was very coy about C&K potentially staying at 6, which is interesting. I think that could be a conversation they have with Metcalf out and Sean back. Do they leave him there, and then that shuts everybody up because they can put Roger at fullback? Potentially, it's an interesting idea to have. But yeah, I thought the Panthers looked off for a lot of this contest. I don't know if it's because they took the Warriors lightly, or if the Warriors just had a game plan that kept them quiet. I think it might be the rugby league guru. He said he was speaking with Tane Tuapiki after the match, and Tane basically said Webby had a lot of time with the Panthers and with Ivan, and he had a few tricks up his sleeve, which seemed to work. So it could be a bit of everything. And yeah, like you said, they had a lot of errors. And the back three more were kept quiet. I think Andrew Voss talked. Ideally, when you're playing the Panthers, Brian To'o, Taruva, and Edwards get 3 hit-ups at the start of the set, 10 meters each, so 30 meters. The Warriors were holding them for a set of 5 to like 35 meters. So holding them all back. So the defense was a great upside for the Warriors too, which has been something we've been critical of. And yeah, Jacko said the early try made Panthers think it was an easy win, hence why they loosened up. Yeah, I think scoring that try in the first minute, and then how easy Jerome Luai's try was, I think they kind of probably had it in their head, the typical Warriors thing of we just got to, by the time second half comes around, we're going to run away with this, which admittedly a lot of Warriors fans will have the same thoughts. But yeah.
And the yellow card.
And the yellow card.
We named the show title. We haven't even spoken about it. Yeah. Another
Very
thing that's
important.
out of character. And Isaiah Yeo in the post-match press conference was ruining that, saying that was just poor leadership and a dumb decision in the moment. Turned out to be real important. We cashed in.
Yeah, to be honest, we'll never know. But if they didn't get that sin bin, and they almost didn't because Atkins didn't do anything, he got called up by the bunker.
Yeah.
But if they didn't get that sin bin, potentially the Warriors don't win this game. It could be that simple. But the fact that we've seen them struggle with it before, when they've had that one-man advantage and not capitalize and get points. And to see them, bang 2 tries away, it really helps. So very, very happy. I feel positive again for the first time in a month. But your player to stand out, we've picked 2 different players. You were basic and picked the predictable one, and I went left field. So
I went Tane to a picky. I could have gone so many ways. I thought so many people stood up, but I was just so stoked for Tane, scoring his first NRL try. We normally call him the half break king, but he made a couple of clean breaks this time.
He did.
Scored the game tying try, kicked the
match winner
sideline to win the match. I just thought he was awesome.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I had about 4 players when I was doing my review this week that could be my Warrior of the day, but I went with Dylan Walker. I was really impressed with what he delivered at lock. I feel like he was really crisp with his passing and actually played like that extra half, which was really handy in this game when you had a 6 like Chance who wasn't really passing around everywhere. He was run and gun and pass when he needed to. So it worked, and he's playing there again this week. My questions related to that position and him potentially permanently. But I thought he was outstanding out there. And Jacko said Walker was the same for him, but they all played well. I don't think you'll get anyone criticizing if you picked Walker, Tuapiki, Tamati Martin, Roach. If you picked any of those types of guys, I think no one would disagree. But very happy with that match, and long may these positive vibes continue. So we'll go on to the next game. After all these epic close games, we finally get a blowout. The Storm wiping the floor with the Eels 48-16.
8 tries to 3 for the Storm. Tui Kamikamitha, Will Warbrick, Harry Grant with 2, Remus Smith with 2, Xavier Coates, and Ali Katoa, proving what an athlete he is with catching a bomb. For the Eels, Bailey Simonson, Blaze Talangi, and Micah Sivo.
Storm started slow, but they found their stride as they started that second half, and we were pretty much scoring it well at that point. Only blowout of the round, but the Storm deserved it, I think. Another contender continuing to cement their spot, and doing it without Jerome. Didn't look like they missed him, which they obviously do. But it didn't look it in this game. And then you think, they lost Munster as well during this game. But very, very dominant performance from Melbourne. But your thoughts on them?
I thought the game was competitive in the first half. Then the Storm put the foot down in the second half and ended up putting on a clinic. The Eels look a troubled team right now, but credit where due, Melbourne looked really good here. And without a guy who's probably been their best all year in Jerome Hughes. So, the machine marches on.
And your thoughts on Port Hill Parramatta?
The Eels desperately lacking Mitch Moses and Clint Gutherson. They just don't look like picking up wins without their 2 most important players. This week coming is going to be a really interesting fixture against the Bunnies, with both teams struggling for form. Might not be a pretty game to watch, but an interesting one.
I thought they struggled to defend, obviously, when you almost get 50 points put on you. But they just had very little in attack without, as you said, Gutho and Moses. seems to be what we say every week about them since they lost those two. The Storm onslaught at the start of the second half ended this game early. In the space of like 11 or 12 minutes, they had banged out 3 tries. And it was all downhill through there. Eels, just another disappointing effort resulted in the guy losing his job, which he apparently already lost a month ago. Yeah. But this one obviously was the right one to flip the switch. Paul, you're going to bring in some stats.
I was going to say that the Eels, the errors was 9 to the Storm, 11 to the Eels. Penalties conceded 4 to the Storm, 2 to the Eels. The Eels led on penalties, conceded ruck infringements and stuff inside 10 meters. It wasn't their errors that killed this one. It was the Storm's attacking play with those 9 line breaks to 5 and 35 tackle breaks to 25. So it was their attack rather than the Eels' errors in this one that decided this one.
Yeah, and we have gone different on players here. I've picked a left field one again, but who'd you pick for your player? Maybe not so left field.
I'm guessing you went with fantasy then, Brad. I could quite easily have gone that way too. I think Katoa's been fantastic and giving me a bit of FOMO. I want to see him under Webby. I would like to have seen what that's like. Harry Grant. I went Harry Grant. He had one of those games where everything turns to gold for him.
Yeah, Harry Grant is great as always. But I went with the fantasy leader, Katoa. I've just got in brackets on my notes here, try of the weekend. I think I even messaged you and Ruin Hammer when he scored his try off that kick. He's been great. We've talked so much about him and the potential he had once he went to the Storm and what they could do, and he's really found his groove. I think he's going to end up being one of their old timers that feels like he's never been anywhere else but the Storm. I feel like he's going to be on that right edge for some time. But thoroughly deserved. And we'll move to the last game. They saved the best game to last, mate. The Tigers versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins held on here 24-12.
Yep, and it was 4 tries to 2 for the Dolphins. Jack Bostock, Mark Nichols, the Toothless Wonder, and the Hammer with 2 tries. West Tigers, 2 tries, Justin Olam, Api Korosau.
Yeah, I'm probably going to come at this in a way we haven't done before, where I'm going to rip the winning team to shreds. I thought they were poor in this game, despite the scoreline. They missed 44 tackles. They made 13 errors and they gave away 7 penalties. That performance against maybe 14 or 15 other teams in this competition would have given them a loss. But if you have a game breaker like the Hammer out there, you always have a chance, which is exactly what happened. Essentially, his solo effort tries got them the win here. They're going to need to tighten a few things up if they want to win in Auckland this week. But your take on the Dolphins, I'm sure you're more positive.
See, I'm going to go more positive. I want to talk them up before they come here, not sort of run them down and make them angry before they come here, Brad.
Yes, because they do listen.
Yeah, they do listen. Like Bjorn said, we're global here. The Finns keep marching on, picking up wins. I see where you're coming from, though, Brad, with the missed tackles and whatnot. But end of the day, they keep picking up wins. And I think if you'd asked you and you or I at the start of the season if where they'd be sitting at this point of the season, I wouldn't have said right up near the top, especially having some pretty big injuries. But despite a couple of shortcomings, I think young Izzy Katoa at halfback, he continues to impress me and looks like a really good organised young player. And although Trey Fuller had been performing so well, you bring a guy like Hammer back and he kicks it up a notch, doing what Hammer does, notching 2 tries and looking dangerous on return.
Yeah, and Bjorn said the ladder doesn't show how the game went. I'll take ugly wins. Oh, 100%. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be where they are on the ladder. I'm just saying this game, I feel like it wasn't their best effort. But against the Tigers, you don't really need to do that, do you? Unfortunately, which leads me to what were your thoughts on the poor old Tigers?
Pretty much copy and paste everything we say about them most weeks. They are a better team than last year, yeah. But at the end of the day, they're still losing games. They just need to clean up little moments of brain fades and errors that are stopping them from picking up results. I can pin a couple on Brent Naden. Went to the sin bin and just made a couple of silly plays. They just seem to have a few moments here and there in every game where that stops them getting the result, even though they're looking a bit better. So until they sort that out, they're probably going to keep dropping games. But like we keep saying, they've probably not this year, but next year we may start to see them really rebuild.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the post match in this one or last week, but Benji said the biggest enemies for the Tigers are the Tigers themselves. They're doing themselves no favors. They tried their best to hang in there, but yeah, the coach killers ruined their chances. 2 sin bins and the inability to keep Hammer quiet sealed their fate. Admittedly, that's not an easy task. As you said, a better side than the 2023 Tigers, but still a long way to go. And Paul said Tigers are the lowest scoring team in the comp. Yeah, they do struggle to score points. I don't know how their defense stacks up. I don't think they're the worst defensive team because they seem to be able to bring teams down to their level a bit.
I mean, defensively, they've allowed 226 points. The Raiders in 6th have allowed 224 points, only 2 points less. That's the worst team. So the Dragons, the Sea Eagles, the Cowboys, the Eels, the Titans, and Rabbits have all allowed more points in than they have. So yeah, it's definitely on the attacking side. I'm not saying that they're the best defensive team around, but they're competitive on that side. It's with ball in hand that they're just not producing with 145 points. And the next worst is the Rabbits with 162. So, and that's a point a game at least that they're behind them. So it's quite a long way back on that point of view.
Yeah. The Tigers are almost like their 12 seems to be their tally they like to get. They like to get to 2 tries, which you can't expect to win a lot of games with that. But your player to stand out, I think for the last game we've picked the same guy.
The Hammer. Again, he's just so deadly, man. He's so athletic. He's got those big, long solo tries in them, but a great support player as well. He displayed a bit of both on the weekend. Always impressive.
I went with Hammer too. Paul's got the figures up. Jaden Sullivan topped fantasy with 80, and Mark Nichols got 57 and led for the Dolphins. But yeah, I went with Hammer as well. He was a game breaker. I basically just said the only reason the Dolphins won were him. I'm sure that's not the case, but those 2 tries he got, there's not many players out there that can do what he can do. If he stays fit, they can beat anyone on their day, and if they are to beat the Warriors at Mount Smart on Sunday, it's because of him. Warriors have to keep him quiet like they did with the Panthers back 3. And that's not even remembering Isako. But yeah, Hammer's just amazing with what he can do.
I mean, 80 points on a losing team, that's a hell of a lot of fantasy, especially when you think that Justin Olam also got 79. So I mean, 2 guys there with serious fantasy points on a losing team. That's they're the kind of guys you want to be finding for your fantasy team, folks. those gems in the
Hammers in my team, but yeah, those guys aren't. But I had Nico Hines as my captain, so he helped me out.
Ham was only 56 points. I mean, he's not producing from a fantasy point of view, which
he's warming up. He's warming up. Give him time. It was his first game back. So we'll go on to either the ladder or the tips, whichever one Paul is going to release to us first. It's the ladder. I'll take top 8 this week because I think you had them last week, mate. So we've got Sharks remaining at the top on 20 points. Melbourne have gone up to 2nd on 18. Penrith have moved down to 3rd on 16. Dolphins stay the same on 4th at 16. Broncos have gone up to 14. Raiders went up to Broncos up to 5th on 14, Raiders up to 6th on 14, Roosters down to 7 on 12, and Knights have gone up back into the 8 on 12 points.
And the Dragons, Brad's favourites, they've moved up to 9th, making a charge. Manly are in 10th, Bulldogs in 11th, North Queensland remain in 12th, Warriors have moved up to 13th, moving on up. The Parramatta Eels down to 14th, Tigers remain 15th, Titans remain 16th, Rabbitohs remain last place.
Yeah, it's good. We can actually tick a box for the Warriors. They've beaten a top 4 team, have a chance to beat 2 top 4 teams in a row, which was one of the things they couldn't do last year. It's, as I said last week, it's still early days and we're seeing quite a lot of teams moving around. I feel like the top 3 are probably going to remain in the top 4 in some position. I still think teams like Dolphins could slide. Brisbane, I think, will keep going up. But I think a Sharks, Melbourne, Penrith, Broncos top 4 could be what we see at the end of the year, maybe. I'm hoping the Warriors, keep climbing. But you got any thoughts on the ladder before we move?
Just glad to see us nudge up a spot. Let's keep that trend going.
Yeah, we needed those points.
But when if we're talking sort of, we're 11 rounds in out of 27, so we're getting towards. I mean, you say it's still early days, but we're getting towards sort of halfway-ish because you have 25 games. With 3 you have 24 games. So the next round is halfway through the season for some teams. They will have played half their games. So where do you think the cutoff is for that top 8 at the moment? Clearly, the Dragons on 12. On equal points, they're ignoring teams just purely on points. They're definitely within it. Manly only 1 point behind. You got to say they're kind of within. But where's that line kind of cutting off after that? Do you think?
For me, it might set bonus, but I say the Warriors. I feel like Parramatta, they just sacked the coach. I don't see them improving anytime soon. Tigers, I think they're going to fight, but they're going to lose more than they win. Titans in the same boat, and Rabbits have put the cue in the rack the moment they sacked Demetrio. So I feel like the Warriors and up are the only ones that still could turn things around. Like the Warriors are the lowest out of that lot, and they're 3 points out of the 8. Another win here or there, but boom, you're right back in the 8, and that goes for Dragons down to us basically. A couple of wins and it's a different story. That's where I'd put it. Just, you could say on 8 points, the Eels could still get there, but I just don't see them turning things around with everything going on with the club at the moment.
Yeah, and their form, their form chart is 0-4 from the last 5 rounds. So they're only points from the last 5 rounds because they're bye. So
yeah. So let's bring up the tipping comp. Some movers and shakers in there. It's really tight. So we got Rocking Horse Road still at the top. He got a 6. Simon is second. He got a 7. On third on 7. And Shuddy FC only got a 4. But the top 4 players are all on 67 points. So it's really tight at the top. ACT Hellcat is 5th on 66. MB Sports Fan on 63 points at 6th. Bjorn, you got 6. You are on 61 at 7th. And then Richie, you're at 8th on 61. And then we're kind of dropping off. So I feel like the top 8 are all still really in it. Couple of jokers up the sleeves, which helps.
Yeah, it is. We were talking pre-show. Yeah, Rookie Horse. There's only used 1 joker and is top or equal top the top 4 there. MB Sports Fan, the one that could be a big mover, having only used 1 joker as well. The first joker came out of the pack this weekend for those 14 points. So spent well with that.
I was tempted to use my last one this week. I regret it now.
That's the best. That's the best joker that's been spent so far this season. Shutty and ACT, look, those jokes have all gone already. So, boy, oh boy, you need to be, you're going to have to be picking well, those two.
Yeah, so still nice and tight. We're not looking as bad as I thought we would be going up against all of you guys, but we may as well jump into questions. I saw you had a couple put aside, Paul. I think mainly from Bjorn, but what questions have we got?
Yeah, so in your playing days, do you guys ever have any major injuries? He reckons Brad might have pulled his hammy with a few big line breaks, like maybe Timothy Williams did earlier this season in Super Rugby. So, what? Yeah, how were you? How were you? Were you glass or were you solid, Brad?
We're going with me first. Okay, I've never done a hammy. As you guys know, Paul and Richie, I have the glass right ankle. I've broken it twice, never broken it playing though, but I have torn tendons in it when I was playing. That's probably the second worst. The worst is I got a front tooth embedded in my head.
So not your front tooth, someone else's.
Someone else's. I got it. It was about here. I can still feel the bump from the scar. Guy wasn't wearing a mouth guard, and when I went in, led with my shoulder, he kind of like did a stapler with his head. Didn't know any better. I was playing, believe it or not, I was playing flanker at the time, Paul. I was young and skinny.
Oh, hang on. So this isn't even league. This is union.
No, I never get hurt in union. I never get hurt in league. Too tough. But yeah, I didn't think anything of it. Told my lock at the time that he was bleeding because he had blood all down the side of his leg, but that was mine.
Your blood down his leg.
Yeah, and a lot of blood. My dad was on the sidelines, and they gave him. I was very young. They gave him the choice of if I could play on or go to A&E. He unfortunately listened to his son, who refuses to go to the doctor at the best of times, and would take me up, and I kept playing. Then I got a tooth surgically removed out of my head, and my head glued back together. So that was the worst.
Somebody else's tooth surgically removed, not even yours.
Yeah. So that was probably the worst. It wasn't even a bad injury. It was just a school time story that lasted a bit long afterwards. But what about you, Richie? You were actually talented.
Horrible stuff.
No, surprisingly, I never really picked up anything major. Little ankles here and there, sprains and stuff like that. I used to play union and play 10, so I did a lot of passing and kicking before I would.
Yeah, pretty boy, staying away from the damage.
I used to get rid of the ball before coming under threat. Funnily enough, I seem to pick up worse injuries playing cricket. First 11, I think I broke my nose going out to bat without a helmet against King's College. So yeah, I somehow avoided injury playing footy.
I did actually. Hold on, we've got more. I broke my nose in a rugby game. A hooker headbutted me after a scrum because I said something bad about his mother. So I broke my nose because he headbutted me. And then in rugby league, I got picked on for being the only white forward. And I did a run up, steaming run up, and I had a guy do a hopawati with the jumping elbow. I quickly put that in there before we say elbowed me about there in the head. I don't remember hitting the ground, but I remember getting up and trying to play the ball about half a meter off where the ground was, and I got done for losing the ball. We got no penalty for it, which was ridiculous. But yeah, that was probably the only one. They knocked me silly. Continued to play. There was no HIA back in those days. But yeah.
At least
scary.
You got a hopawati elbow, not a finger.
Hopawati elbow, yes. That's why I quickly said the elbow.
And this is why he's got the hat on. You see, I mean, the number of scars and stuff under that.
The dent
and dents.
The dent in the forehead. But yeah. So, what other questions do we have?
Dear. Do you guys think the Broncos have a huge chance of making the grand final? Bjorn says they're playing better than he thought they would. And considering they were top 3 last season, top two last season, weren't they? I think most of us all had, or most people had them in their kind of the top four this season as well. So to be playing, I'm not sure. Are they really playing better than preseason expectations?
I think they're playing better due if you put in the situation of injuries and things like that. Like they've lost Adam Reynolds, who is like their linchpin, and they're still, they're not getting pantsed like the Eels are. Like if they've effectively lost their best two players, like the Broncos did, like the Eels did, and the Broncos still are competitive. So they're always a shot. I'm still leaning at the moment with Sharks and Roosters as the top guys, with obviously the Panthers. But yeah, the Broncos are ones I could see that could just fall down a bit due to these injuries. But yeah, they're always a shot. I don't know if I put my money on it.
I'd give them a huge shot if Adam Reynolds is playing, and it's just so happens he's the one with the long injury layoff. So
yeah,
it depends how quickly they can get him back out onto the field, because I think they're a good enough team still without him that they will be a top 8 team. And if they do manage to get Reynolds back this year, then I think they can give it a good shake.
Yeah. We also need to get you to Magic Round next year and to the Lord Alfred. The fans will love these, Brad. No idea what the Lord Alfred is. I'm guessing it's a bar of some sort. But there we go.
It's a bar for Magic Round. Ruin Hammer and Warrior Nation actually organised a get together for Warriors fans at Lord Alfred. One day, I was hoping eventually Magic Round would come to me. So I was trying to play the long game.
But then it'll be at Eden Park, and you couldn't go.
I'd go just down the road from Eden Park. Will be the Warriors' new bar, so I'd just go there.
So Bjorn's asking again. The other end of the table now. The battle for the spoon seems to be pretty hot. Are you still backing the? Are you still thinking the Tigers are getting it there?
The way they're going, they're a shot. They're dropping most of their games, but I'm going to stick with Bunnies. I think they've just been a rebel this year. But they also have the potential, if they hit their straps, to move out of that position.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Bunnies too, because I really don't want to see the Tigers get it. But I think the Tigers and the Rabbits are the biggest shouts. Titans, I think, have still got a few more wins up their sleeve. The Rabbits, all it takes is their players to decide to play again. And like we might see it this week with their new halves pairing. They might jump out. So if they do that, then they're going to get away from Wooden Spoon. But yeah, I'm going to stick with them for now.
So they've not won since round 4, which is the last time that the Tigers won as well. The Tigers had a great start to the season, actually. A bye, lost to Canberra. So had a loss, then a win, and then a win. So they had two wins in their first 3 games, and then they've not won since.
They're above us on the ladder at that point too.
It's gone backwards there with that one. Jacko just says, this crucial game this week. Win and they're knocking on the Warriors knocking on the top 8, lose and they slide away to a place where it's hard to get back into finals form. So we'll have to hope to see whether his prediction line goes that way. And obviously Simon saying wish he'd used the Joker last week. Hindsight, Captain Hindsight is the best superhero ever. So yes, as they say. Let's move on to your questions now, guys.
Cool. So we'll go with yours, Richie. I'm going to give you a bit of a spoiler. When I grabbed your notes off you today and I posted them into the show notes, the one thing I forgot was the question. So I'm coming in 100% blind. I have no idea what your question is, so throw it at me. Let's see if I can pretend to know what I'm talking about.
All right. So this will be interesting then. The Panthers have looked a little flat the past few weeks, which culminated in a Magic Round loss to an understrength Waz team. Are you seeing vulnerability there, or is it just a matter of come September when Cleary returns, business as usual?
Yeah, I think it's just once they get into finals time, it's a different team again. I harp on it almost every episode, I feel, but the Panthers have a game like this in them every year. The game last year was against the Tigers. This year it was against the Warriors. Once finals happen, they're a different beast. you know. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be worried at all. What do you got any thoughts on that before?
Yeah, me too. Pretty much. I mean, come September, they seem to flick a switch. Yeah, like I say, they seemed a little flat the past few games. Still picking up wins, but not anything amazing. And then they've lost to an understrength Warriors team and made a lot of errors and just didn't look themselves. So I came up with a knee jerk question. Sometimes I'm a knee jerk kind of guy, but I
But
still think they'll be there or thereabouts.
and we're still away from September. So will they slide enough that home advantage and stuff at finals could be an issue for them?
Nah,
I
nah.
hope so, but probably not.
Yeah, it would be great, but yeah, I don't see it happening. They're too good, and they'll get Cleary back, and then they'll go to another level. Um, but yeah, in the finals, it could be different. Like Jacko said, Critter out could be crucial come finals time.
Yeah.
I'm more confident in seeing like if they make the final, say if they make the final against Brisbane, they make it against the Roosters, the Sharks, the Storm. I'm more confident that those teams could beat them. We almost saw it last year,
Mm.
till the Broncos got too ahead of themselves. But yeah, I think they'll get to finals, no worries. It might be a little bit harder for them once they reach finals because
Oh no, no,
yeah,
no. I don't think anyone's suggesting they're going to slip so far out the top eight. But it's a question of will they slip out of the top four, and therefore
no,
end up having to worry about those sort of issues.
no, I still see them as a top four. Um, yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. So my question to you, mate. We saw what Dylan Walker could offer at lock. Do you think it's time to move Tohu Harris into the front row, or would you keep Walker on the bench?
Yeah, interesting question there, Brad. And you did bring it up with us early in the week in our group chat, and I thought that's yeah, it provides a lot of food for thought. Seeing what Dylan Walker did on the weekend, um, we've thought of him as that bench guy to come off the bench and bring energy, but having him start there, he just brought that energy the whole game, and he looked to offer a lot at a bit higher clip than what Tohu. Tohu's got that ball playing, but Dylan Walker just seemed to be doing everything at a bit more speed, and he still had that. He was still solid defensively, but he just looked like maybe a bit more of a threat with the ball.
Yeah,
It's an experiment I'd be happy to persist with, and because I know Tohu Harris can go just as well in the front row, and maybe that might stop you from seeing your mate Zion for a while, and put him even further back in the
further
pecking
back.
pecking order. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think Webby's a pretty loyal guy and he'll stick with what he knows. But yeah, I was enticed by what I saw on the weekend.
Yeah, and it's one game. Obviously, this week he's playing lock again. He could come out and absolutely be horrible, and then I'll be like, no, never put him at lock again. But I've been saying it for I feel like years now in my reviews that I do that I see Tohu as a forward, a front rower, I should say, in a way that helps the Warriors out better. It all depends. We've got Mitch Barnett playing middle a lot until there were injuries now. So you've got those things there, but I feel like anything that makes the team a stronger team on the whole, regardless of where the players are, I think that's what you got to look at. And Tohu's getting old now, it might be easier on him in the front row, as hard as that is to say. It'll be easier on his body being one of the batting rans up front, but I feel like it'll take some of the pressure off him trying to be that playmaker when there's guys like Walker who can do it at a better level. It's just food for thought, but you just threw it back at me about Zion potentially not getting to play if that happens, so I might be against my own question.
Well, probably for Tohu's body as well. If he were, yeah, it's like you say, it is a combative position playing front row, but then also maybe he works into the rotation a bit more and
Yeah.
scale down his minutes.
Yeah, it's food for thought. It was a bit like you were struggling with questions too. So we'll move on to round 12, starting with talking about the Warriors-Dolphins game. So give us that Warriors team, Matt.
All right, fullback Taintor Apiki retains the spot. Wingers Dylan Martinez, Lesniak, Marcelo Montoya. Centres Rocco Berry returns and Adam Pompey keeps the spot. The halves stay the same, Chance, Nickel Kulstad and Tamaiti Martin. The front row, Adam Fanua-Blake, Freddie Lussick returns, and Bunty Arfour, the other starting prop. Edge back rows, Jackson Ford, Mitch Barnett. Dylan Walker retains number 13, lock. Interchange, Tom Ale, Jazz Tavanga, Jacob Laban, and Marata Niokore returns as well.
Yeah, so what's your take on the 17? Or I suppose the whole extended, because I think someone in that extended's coming in.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I would like to have seen Paul Roach get another chance. So maybe if someone would have come in, maybe I wouldn't mind seeing Paul Roach come in to give Freddie Lussick a spell. I think maybe that might be what happens. I don't know about Freddie Lussick going 80 minutes, or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe someone else will step in there, but I'm hoping maybe Paul Roach comes on and he can give Freddie a rest, and Paul Roach can build off what he put out weekend just gone.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is it's great to see Murata back, but I think they're giving Murata time. If he's going to be, if he's fit and ready to go, I think he stays in, Jake comes out, Paul goes onto the bench.
Yeah.
Because Paul will be there, and he's either going to replace Laban or Nakora. Sorry. That is what I think will happen. Jack also mentioned before we move on, New South Wales Cup bet the Panthers as well, which is a very nice surprise given how many of their guys were out because they were playing first grade. And Panthers are top of the table in New South Wales Cup. So we beat them twice. And Bjorn said, good to have Happy Brad back at the team listing. Although seeing upset Brad is good feeling. I love
upset Brad.
I'm still not happy. I'm more optimistic because everything I was upset about last week, I got pie on my face because it all worked out. I wanted to see Ali play. Ali got injured, so he's out. That's fine. Tane still got a spot, which is good. Chance played well at 6. Dylan at 13. It's only Roach. If Roach doesn't play, it's a travesty because he doesn't deserve to get the Zion treatment where you kill it and then you never get to play again. So I'm hoping to see him. But yeah, I'm very happy with that team. I think that's a good enough team to do the damage to the Dolphins, who are named as follows. We got the Hammer at fullback, Jermaine Ozako and Jack Bostock on the wings, Jake Averillo and Herbie Farmworth in the centres, Cody Nikarima and Isaiah Katoa in the halves. Front row, we got Jesse Bromwich, Jerry Marshall-King and Mark Nichols. Second row, we've got Felici Kafusi and Ewan Aiken. And then lock, we've got Max Plath. Interchange, we've got Josh Kerr, Kenneth Bromwich, Ray Stone, and Connolly Limu. Very good team there. I think their biggest issue is that they've got Cody Nikarima, who does not like winning at Mount Smart. So that could help the Warriors out. But no, that's a very good team. Easily beatable if the Warriors do everything right, but it could easily put a score on the Warriors if they're not careful.
Yeah.
I had originally already picked the Dolphins to win about 3 weeks ago. Last week I got confident, so I'm picking the Warriors to win here.
Oh, you done a day for feeder?
Yeah, I've done a backflip.
Yeah, nice. A bit same as you, Brad. I see it as a dangerous team. I'll give credit. Cody's been going well this year, even though he doesn't like winning at Mount Smart. I've backed the Warriors, but yeah, the Dolphins do have a team that if they catch fire, it's very dangerous. But I've been given confidence from the weekend just gone.
Yeah. So what we're telling you, Paul, in the background is this is the very last game of the round, and our multi's going to be alive until that, and it could very much lose because we've gone the other way.
Now, with you two clearly both on just on recency biased, and actually not, and just having memories of only 3 days long, that with this game will not be included in the multi.
Oh, come on. We must at least be favourites.
No, it's
That's
$1.90.
pretty close, I think.
It's $1.90 each. This one
Yeah.
is a coin flip.
Yeah.
Literally a coin flip, $1.90 each, and that's on a New Zealand betting site where most of the money is on the Warriors, meaning that these odds will be will actually lower the what the real Warriors odds are.
Yeah. And
So-
before we move on, Ruin Hammer, I know they're already doing their show now. They're coming across to this game. So it's Hammer's first ever game at Mount Smart. Could potentially join Paul's list, depending on what happens with the result. But yeah, it'll be good to catch up with them in person for the first time. But yeah, thought I'd better mention that before we move on. So we may as well jump into
maybe Brad will get some video that we can then sort of play during the show next week.
I don't do that, but they probably will do video. They're good at that stuff, so I might just steal theirs if you like, Paul. So we'll go on to the rest of the round. Starting on Thursday, we've got the Doggies and the Dragons. I've gone with the Dogs because I don't pick Drags.
I also went Dogs on that one.
All right. First up on Friday, we've got Cowboys Tigers. I picked Cowboys. Yeah. Both teams aren't playing well, but I think they're playing a little bit better.
Yeah, me too.
Next up on Friday, we've got Manly versus Storm. I've gone with the Storm. I think, without Tommy, it's hard to pick Manly.
Yeah, I also went Storm.
Next up, first game on Saturday, Raiders Roosters. I have gone with Roosters. Sorry, Simon.
Me too. Big multi coming up.
Oh.
Yeah, this one I must say the Roosters here at $1.28. The Storm are $1.65 against the Eagles. Now the with the Eagles being down in 10th, whereas Raiders are in 6th. The Raiders are above the Roosters, and the Raiders are at home, and yet somehow the Roosters are stronger favourites than the Storm against the outer side of the 8th Eagles. That to me seems a bit really short odds for the Roosters, considering how they're tracking.
Roosters will win.
Roosters will win. Roosters are good, man.
I just don't see them being that much being more favourites than the Storm against the Eagles. That doesn't make sense to me.
It's just the way money goes when you bet, Paul. The more people bet on one, the odds change. It's basic mathematics. I will explain it to you when we go off here. But next game, this one's actually going to be interesting. Sharks Panthers. I've gone with Sharks.
Ooh, there you go. I went Panthers. I don't.
Panthers don't like to lose 2 games in a row, but I'm going all in on the Sharks, mate. I'm going all in.
I was torn here. This was a very tough one, but I'll go the other way. I'll go on Panthers.
Sharks are $1.65. Panthers $2.25.
That's very rare. That's
Sharks kind of have no injuries and are on a roll. Panthers will be looking to bounce back. They will not like that they lost to the Warriors. So
they'll find a way.
I'm expecting it. I wouldn't put money on it, Paul. That would be a game I'd leave off the multi if we had agreed on the Sharks. But next up, Rabbits Eels. I've gone Rabbits. It's the tale. It's the tale of 2 teams that have fallen apart at the seams, and I feel like it's still we say it every week. Without Mitchell, Moses, and Gutho, the Eels can't do much, and they're still not playing. And I think Jack Whiten might spring some life into this Rabbitohs team at 6. So,
I went Eels because it doesn't matter who the Rabbitohs have fielded, they haven't been able to do much. I went Eels.
Also, look, sacking the coach sometimes is a bit of a dead cat bounce. We might get a dead cat bounce in the Eels.
Well,
the Rabbitohs
sacked coaches.
The Rabbitohs new coach hasn't got a win yet either.
But the Rabbitohs coach has been there for like 3 weeks now, right? Whereas the Eels, this is the first. So the dead note, it's too late for a dead cat bounce for the Rabbits. That didn't happen. It just as Richie says, it doesn't matter who they put out. They're cooked rabbits. They're rabbit stew. Whereas the Eels, we'll see. Will there be about a bounce? As Bjorn says, battle of the interim coaches.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Eels, their interim coach is Trent Barrett. So
That's true.
it doesn't matter. Trent Barrett failed as a coach, so I don't see him helping them out of this hole. But
the TAB can't split them either. It's $1.90 for both of them.
Yeah. It's just which team's going to suck less, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's what it is. As sad as that is to say. And then the first game on Sunday is Broncos Titans. I got Broncos.
Really?
Same. Yep. Same here.
They are playing at home, which is rare for them, but I'm sure they'll do what they can to beat the Titans. Titans at least get to play in the same stadium 2 weeks in a row as well. So you could say it's almost like a home game for them too.
It's only up the road for them, really.
Yeah, just up the road. And then the last game was Warriors-Dolphins, where we both went with the Warriors. So I don't know what your multi looks like, Paul. I feel like you've lost faith in us, but...
My balance is too low to put $2 on. I've got a problem here, folks.
Well, that's what happens when you let us use your money.
No, my balance has got enough, so I don't understand why it's not. So I'll have to do it later, but I'll make it happen.
That's right. My balance went to zero because I put my money on the Warriors, but then it came up again. So that's good. Before we let everyone go, we'll quickly go into Super League. So there was no Super League round, but we had Challenge Cup. And Paul, you should have put your multi on this because we nailed both picks, Richie. So Wigan defeated Hull KR 38-6. Warrington defeated Uddersfield 46-10, which means the Challenge Cup final is on the 8th of June between Wigan and Warrington, which is what we expected. Our team that we go for against Sam Burgess' team and his pretty impressive first stint as a coach so far. And then round 12 is this week. We've got Uddersfield versus Lee, Castleford versus Hull FC, St. Helens versus Leeds, Catalans versus Warrington, Salford versus Wigan, and London versus Hull KR. So some interesting matchups there. Catalans and Warrington should be a cracker. I forgot to mention it in the other news, Richie, but we talked about the NRL were being interested in investing in the Super League. It's believed that the NRL's got a proposal that they're going to take to the NRL CEOs as they do about what they want to do and potentially buy a stake in the Super League. So there might be some more news on that in the upcoming weeks or month. But I thought I'd better mention it now before Simon beats me to it in the comments. But anything else you want to add? And there we go. So Paul said we've got 5 games on the multi: Bulldogs, Cowboys, Storm, and Roosters and Broncos at 5:05. So, could be a good one. Anything else you want to add, Richie, before I let everyone go?
No, we'll let everyone go. We've got a new habit of going very, very long.
We're under 2 hours today.
Well, we did it. We're under 2 hours. But yeah, great chat, everybody. Great result. Weekend just gone. Hopefully we see it again. Keep the good vibes going.
It'll be like a 3-hour show since Paul wants me to do like some documentary this weekend at a Warriors game. But I'll do my best. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on Rugby League, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. on Facebook or YouTube, or at your convenience on iHeart or Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Thank you again for joining me, Richie, and cheers for all your help in the background, Paul, and good night, everyone.